Get in on the action. Make your bet with Sports Interaction. The F1 schedule is heating up. Will you go with the reliable and Max Verstappen, or take your chance with a potential surprise? Download the app in Ontario, use the QR code you see at the bottom of your screen, or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Oh, so we're rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Welcome to Nailing the Apex, everybody.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm in a new studio.
Welcome to the studio, Tim.
Yeah.
Show in the studio.
Hey.
All right.
Can move the mic around. This is great.
Oh, yeah,
I feel like Steve Dangle already.
Yeah, do
Oh,
you?
he loves the sit back with the mic.
Yes.
He loves that move.
Hey, did you ever get an answer to my text I sent you?
What was it? What was the?
Because I sent you a text.
Okay.
Oh, this is great. I was asking you, like, how sweaty do you guys think, like, Steve's pits are underneath his Leafs jersey when he's doing doing
the
hockey?
stream.
Well, so I don't know about sweaty so much, because that basement that he's in is nice and cool, right? Because when he does those streams, he's doing it from his
So he's
basement.
got like a meat locker down there.
Oh yeah, and his old place was like that too. His old place was actually so cold that the basement leaked. But the thing is, they attached a heart rate monitor to him 2 years ago when the Leafs were playing the Canadians.
Yeah,
and his heart rate got up. They had Chris Hadfield talk about it. His heart rate got up past what astronauts go when they're going into space. Yeah, he's a passionate fan.
Yeah. He's also not the sweatiest person.
No, I am.
You know, Adam is.
I am.
Adam's a sweaty guy.
I'm so sweaty. I actually get Botox under my arms to stop me from sweating.
No
I'm
way.
not kidding. See, I don't have pit sweats anymore, but I used to. I used to change shirts every day.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, we can talk. It's great.
We'll
It's
talk
great.
about racing for now.
Yeah.
So
There you go. Do we have to talk about racing?
Segue. So yeah, Azerbaijan Grand Prix coming up this weekend. Guys, 5 races in the next 6 weeks. Are we ready for this?
It's weird that there's a 4-week break.
Right.
You know, it feels like the summer break, except everybody's just allowed to keep working. This is an unusual thing for the schedule, right? This doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, because they lost. So they lost the Chinese Grand Prix off the calendar. So that opened up this 4-week break that we kind of had. And I think, you know, it's interesting, and it's something we can get into later. But I think that break probably helped a lot of the teams, but the drivers as well. But I think like we may see some even better racing as we kind of get going, because I think this gave the teams enough time to sort of start to catch up with development.
Right.
We will see some teams with upgrades this weekend.
And I guess we can touch on it later, but I don't think that Formula One, the schedule makers, you know, starting with like Mohammed bin Suleiman or any of those guys, they can't let this happen again. If they got to figure out whether China's in or out now. They keep bragging about how these other places want to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for these races. You cannot have that. You can't have a gap like this in the schedule again. You can't, because you just got started. Fernando's such a story, and then.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And it's so hard to kind of get back into that news stream again and get everything rocking and rolling. But I think coming back to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, though, is the right place to do this, because we've seen some crazy races here, man.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult track.
Yeah, and it's like it's always chaos. Like always, it doesn't matter which race we've kind of done here. That's always been just a mess.
It's a fun track. Like I just like in F122, it's a fun track. But then there's that one little spot where you have to squeak in.
Castle section.
Yeah. Oh my God, I hate it. It's like that and the entirety of Monaco. I'm like, skip Monaco. I don't care.
That's such a difficult part of the racetrack, because like as a driver, you know, you're braking from just over about 200 kilometers an hour down to, you know, in around 110, 120, and you're actually committing to the first part. So it'd be turn 8. You're committing to turn 8 before you actually even see the apex. So you're committing to like a wall. And then you don't really know if you've committed too much speed. So essentially, a lot of the drivers will carry the brakes to the apex. But there's that payoff, right? You carry a bit too much, you're going to trim some speed. And you carry just a little bit too little, you're going to end up in the turn 9 wall, because that section from 8 to 9 is the narrowest width of track on the Formula One calendar.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So you're literally like threading a needle going through that section. And then when you kind of, you then go up that little hill and then into a right-hander, which is turn 11, in years past, the drivers actually couldn't see the apex of turn 11. It's uphill, it's sort of blind, but the actual the wall itself, it was never rounded. It was always kind of jagged.
Yeah,
so you
squared
never really got full commitment from the drivers going up there. If you take a look at Charles Leclerc's 2022 pole winning lap, and you just watch his hands and slow the video down through turn 11, he turns the wheel once, and usually as a driver, you always want to just turn the wheel once because you keep turning the steering wheel, you keep trimming the speed, and so you lose a lot of lap time from that. So if you watch Leclerc's onboard camera, you can see he turns the wheel once, and then he's looking, and he turns again, and then he keeps looking, and he turns again to commit to the corner. So now for this year, they've apparently sort of rounded that wall out, so we'll see. I mean, it could help the drivers in terms of the visibility aspect, but yeah.
So I have the track map up here. You're speaking about sector 2 here, turns 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Wow.
So that section between 8 and 9, that's like the narrowest width of track on the calendar. Like it's something crazy. It's like 7.6 meters wide or something like that. It's very, very small.
Well, even, is it turn 7 there? It's too far for me to see it, where it just takes a direct right hand, right? Before all of that. So turn 7's interesting because you're coming off of so much speed. From the right after that, it the track kind of turns around, and then you get one of the longest straightaways in Formula One. And that right hand turn really is sort of like it messes with your head a little bit because you're going so fast at the rest of the track, and you have to kind of flip it and go, no, I have to go almost some of my slowest right here.
Yeah, exactly. That, and also like turn 16. So into sector 3 as well. Sorry, not turn 16. I'm going to go back one more corner. Turn 15, because you're coming off another one of those long sort of straights with these kinks in the corner, which are essentially flat out in an F1 car.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get to like turn 15, it's all off camber a tiny bit. It's downhill, and so for a driver, you kind of want to take advantage of that, but if you take too much of it, you end up in that wall. And we do see a lot of crashes at the exit of turn 15 as well. So it is a tricky kind of track. I was saying to someone on Twitter, I'm not like a huge fan of like the 90-degree corners, but for some reason, like this particular track, it just works. There's just more passing opportunities as well. I can't explain it.
Is it like a mental trick because it feels wide?
I think so. Like if you look at like coming off of turn 1, the exit to that, we've always seen like some passes happen there, but some passes where you're just like, ooh, is he gonna make the exit kind of thing? Like Daniel Ricciardo, I think like F1's social media account posted something where Ricciardo overtook Stroll and Felipe Massa in 2017, and like he did something similar where he passed like both of them heading into turn 1, but you were just like, is he gonna hit the wall on the outside? Type deal. And so that's where I think the drivers kind of get a little bit more aggressive, and they have those opportunities to make moves. So it's an interesting track, like it is, and they've repaved half of it for this weekend, and that's definitely going to have a big impact on Free Practice 1. Like
they didn't use the Miami Grand Prix pavers, did they?
No.
Did they bother paving Miami, or because it's a gravel track, isn't it?
They just found some guys down in Tallahassee to come pave an F1 course.
This is Jeff. Jeff's going to do paving for us.
Did we ever talk about that? Like
no, we haven't.
Actual, like, pavement? Okay, so I was working the Miami Grand Prix, and we got there, and a friend of mine was doing hot laps for Alfa Romeo. So like hot laps are basically you get Ashton Kutcher, and he's sitting beside you, and you're burning around the racetrack with him there. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so he's out there like giving it in this Alfa Romeo, and the pavement starts to get pulled out of the ground, and this is before the F1 cars that had actually hit the track.
Oh.
And so he came in, and I'm like, dude, what's it like out there? Like, what's the track like? And he's like, bro. He's like, the track's coming up. I'm like, what do you mean it's coming up? He's like, the surface is actually coming up. I'm like, oh my God. And so that night, so the F1 cars went out, and you could see that there were a few patches where the pavement started to pull itself up. And that night, they actually had to work overtime to resurface a few of the corners, and then they had to do it again. I think after, I want to say Saturday night, there was another corner they were resurfacing there. But yeah, just some issues with whatever the mixture was that they used in the asphalt itself. So I think for this season, going to Miami, and we'll get to that because I'm heading there for that race too. But we'll get to that another time. But I think this year will be way better. That race, like Miami, is awesome.
No, I had you on my podcast, and you told that story then, and I believe what we discussed there was that the laws in Florida permit anybody from outside of the state paving any roads there, so they had to use Florida pavers to pave this F1 track, and they're obviously not used to paving an F1 track.
Trust a Florida man to do anything here. Come on,
all these issues happen.
So for this weekend, they're going to have half of the Baku City street circuit here repaved, so that will have an impact on tires and degradation, which actually gets us into our format for this weekend, which is a sprint weekend.
I love sprint weekends. I love them.
But this one's going to be different.
Yep.
We got a different
what do we got?
Sprint weekend.
What?
All right, so I had to write out some notes. All right, so we'll start with Friday.
Okay.
All right, Friday's going to be an early morning for everybody here in Canada. You're only going to get one free practice session. That is it. And so for F1, that's like the drivers and the teams, you're not really going to get a lot of data. And so if you're a driver, you got to make sure you don't stuff it into the wall, because if you do, you're in trouble for the rest of the weekend.
And this weekend format has never happened before.
No, never.
This is the first time ever.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So one practice.
One.
Okay.
Which is going to be, like, everyone may sit there and think, like, oh, it's just one. It's actually, like, huge, because if you're a second-year driver or you're a rookie, you need as much practice as you can get so you can get the confidence. Because then what you're going to do is you're going to have to go straight into qualifying on Friday. And that qualifying is going to set the grid for Sunday's race. Then on Saturday is now like a what do they want to call it? It's like Saturday sprint day.
Okay.
All right. So Saturday early morning again in Canada, we're gonna get qualifying for the sprint race. It's
Okay.
called a sprint shootout.
Okay.
You're gonna have SQ1, so instead of Q1, you're gonna have SQ1, SQ2, SQ3. Same similar format to
Sprint qualifying, but just qualifying.
Just qualifying, right.
Okay. Same time
Then-
frames too?
no, actually. So sprint qualifying is going to be like, you mean in terms of
Like 15 minutes or
I
whatever
think it's now 12, 10, and 8.
Oh.
I believe that's the exact number.
Okay.
So SQ1 would be 12 minutes, then you have 10 minutes, then 8 minutes. So
Okay.
that's going to be different. And then on top of that, you're basically, the drivers are going from essentially waking up in the morning, having some breakfast, and jumping into the car to qualify. And that's never really been done either. And so for these drivers, that's difficult, because you use that free practice 3 session to get yourself confident and ready for quali. So you can go and push the car, you take it to its limit, you're a little more comfortable at that moment. You're never really comfortable, but you have a little more confidence. With this, a lot of the younger drivers are going to, eat breakfast, get ready, and then jump in a car and go flat out. That is going to be very interesting to watch and to see, because I think what we're going to see is you're going to see the experienced drivers really excel, and I think you're going to see some of the rookies struggle.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, just so I know, the sprint race will actually determine the actual the grid position for Sunday.
So Sunday's grid position.
So this is where I wanted to.
Yes. So Sunday's grid position is determined by your qualifying on the Friday.
So what's the point of the sprint race?
Points.
Entertainment.
What kind of points?
Some points.
What kind of points are being available?
8 points for the win, and then it goes down from there.
Wow.
To, like, once
so
you
you
get
get
to
a
8
practice,
points,
you
you get 1
qualify, and then you're going for points, and then, oh my. So let's say you have an unbelievable, like you have a terrible qualifying session, you have an unbelievable sprint, so you're in the points. You could still be a terrible start on Sunday in Baku. Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I love about this is the storylines it creates, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because if somebody has a bad Friday but a good Saturday and a good Sunday, there'll be a lot of comeback sort of. I love, wow, they came out of 15th and they finished 8th. Those types of stories are fun.
Well, think about this. What happens on Saturday morning if you stuff the car? Like, let's say you absolutely, bin it. And you literally are trying to ratchet together almost a whole new car for your race on the Saturday.
I mean, yeah.
Like, that's a huge
Yeah.
So is there?
That's a huge thing, man.
Oh yeah.
So the Saturday qualifying for the sprint, they're calling it sprint shootout.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in the way the qualifying for the sprint, where the sprint shootout works than regular qualifying?
It's still pretty much the same. Essentially, you're getting the 3 qualifying sessions. The time on them is different. Like how much time you actually get out there. It's like the bigger thing. Like I was saying to Adam there. It's just like, how are the younger drivers going to be able to just jump into a quali lap and just push? Because it takes so much confidence to do that, and you have to have that. You have to have that confidence, but you also need that experience. So for like a driver like Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso,
This will favor them.
yeah, big time, I think. Like, because they have so much experience, right? They don't need to really worry about it. And that's when I think you're really going to see true talent, like from a younger driver.
Right. And
Really
so
true
if you're looking at the Yuki Tsunodas, the Logan Sargents, the Oscar Piastris, what would a race engineer or a team principal be looking for that would impress them from the younger drivers?
Don't destroy the car.
Okay. All right. Because I don't count Lando as a young driver
don't
anymore,
destroy
right?
the car. Yeah, he's experienced.
He's experienced now.
Yes, he's experienced. I would, for me, like as a team principal, I would be like, just do not crash the car. Because if you crash the car, then you're done. Like it's going to be one hell of a weekend.
Wow.
And it's not going to be a good one, right? And you got to remember that the crew itself, they're going to be there like working their butt off to get these cars ready just for a sprint qualifying and then get the cars ready for a sprint race. And it's like you're asking a lot of the team. And everybody at home, maybe watch, I just want to watch the race. But you have the people aspect behind the scenes as well. You have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be on the road for 5
weeks.
of the next 6 weeks.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I like that there's 2 races, kind of. It's essentially 2 races,
Yeah.
and that every day of the weekend kind of matters more now. Because
100%.
I've always kind of just checked what happened in practice. I don't really tune into practice every weekend, but now qualifying's on the Friday. Like Friday, there's a reason to watch. Saturday, there's a race. Yeah. There's a reason to watch, and then Sunday is the race, obviously. So if their goal was to generate more interest throughout the weekend, like they've done it.
Yeah, 100%.
What I also like about that, Jess, is that the what seems to be worse for the teams is better for the fans. And I see the discourse on Twitter where they're like, people are like, what about the race teams? I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry for them, but this is going to be fucking awesome. So I just I do feel for the teams and that sort of thing, and the travel and the staying up all night, and I get all that. But damn, this is going to be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. It's
why did they change it, by the way?
Again, like just to try and get more entertainment into a Formula One weekend. I think like at the end of the day, and the teams agreed upon this, obviously they had to vote on it, but a big part of it is to spice up the show, do things a little bit differently. And they have 6 tries at this to see if it works, to see if people like it, to see if it takes. And then we'll see where things go. Like, could they change up Formula One and how a weekend gets rolling, for next season? I mean, sure, why not? If they feel that this works and it adds value, because like people are paying top dollar for a ticket to come to the race to watch. For Friday, I mean, you're seeing the cars on track, but you're seeing them in a practice format. You're not really seeing the drivers pushing like in qualifying or racing each other. So I think a big part of this was to make sure that the fan gets as much value out of the weekend as they can.
Yeah. Moto GP this year went to, I don't follow it too closely, but I know I've seen a little bit of the stuff. They've went to sprint weekends every single race. Oh. Because they've tried to make it worth it for the fan. If you're there on the Saturday, there's a race there as well. And every single Grand Prix this year in Moto GP, there's a sprint.
Yeah. And like Moto GP is incredible racing for people who don't know what it is. Obviously, superbikes, motorbikes racing each other. It's awesome. Those guys are incredible.
Crazy athletes.
Athletes.
When you see like their knee get this high off the ground on a turn, like, oh my gosh.
Oh, it's incredible. I absolutely love MotoGP. Miss Valentino Rossi for sure, but love Mark Marquez. Obviously, he's injured right now, but yeah, it's
but they
great
thought
stuff.
like, hey, to maximize the fan experience, maximize TV audience, maximize entertainment, we need 2 races every weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that could be another one of those like avenues, if it works, obviously, for Formula One to monetize it as well, right? Like we've seen with the NBA, what they do in terms of their monetization, same with the NHL. Like it'd just be another one of those avenues where we get something, but they get something. Something
I've been wondering about since, especially in the last little bit, obviously the cost cap and a lot of the things that Formula One have done recently, which the purists hate, but I actually really like, because I like change. I like trying to make things better.
You got to.
Because really, Formula One was a big team sport.
Yeah.
And when a team like Williams or a team like Jordan would win, it was an outlier. Williams got a lot of championships, but all the same, it was sort of like, wow, I can't believe they did that up against, or Benetton back in, a clothing company. How crazy is that? How does this weekend affect a team like Williams, like Haas, even the Sauber Alfa Romeo team, which is had struggles to start the year?
Yeah, big time. I mean, it could impact them on a couple of different levels. I mean, obviously getting the points is important, and that would definitely help the team. But a negative impact on it is crash damage. That is such a huge negative for those teams that are further back on the grid, because they don't have a ton of money to just, invest in crash damage, right? I mean, like, if you're Mercedes and, George or Lewis get into it with someone and the car gets damaged, or they go over the limit and they crash the car, it's not a huge thing. I mean, it's something they can't be doing every single weekend, but for a team like Williams or, a team like, Haas in particular as well, like you can't just go push things to the limit, crash the car, and then keep crashing the car. Because you just don't have the money to, invest in putting it back together.
Mick Schumacher a seat, right?
Yeah, and that was, it was interesting because Gunther Steiner actually was talking about this last week, actually a few days ago, and I believe it was well over about $2 million in terms of crash damage. I think that's a lot, right? Because you got to remember, you've got a cost cap, and you want to make sure you're hitting that cost cap because you're maximizing your development and the development race. But let's say it's 135 million. Well, 2 million short now, because if you're Haas, maybe you only have 135 million to work with, and that's for everything. Maybe that's not just for the car itself. So I think like crash damage is something that would really, really affect the lower level teams. For sure.
Interesting.
Do you guys want to talk about Ferrari?
Yes. Oh my God. Let's go. Maybe we should have led with that. They're just so interesting.
Yeah, we probably should.
Why are they such a mess? What's going on?
So the big news obviously was the stuff that came out yesterday with Franz Tost leaving AlphaTauri, just stepping down, and Laurent Mekies coming in from Ferrari and basically taking over team principal position at AlphaTauri next season. There hasn't been a date set on when that's going to be. I think they're still trying to negotiate, Ferrari is still trying to negotiate Laurent's sort of buyout, because I think he has a couple years left on his contract with the team. But this is just another sort of like domino that has fallen over since Frederic Vasseur has sort of walked in the door at Ferrari. And that's not like a slight against Frederic Vasseur. He's got to do what he's got to do. But there has been a lot of key personnel within the team that have just got up and left. Gino Risotto actually was back in and around the wintertime, and Canadian Gino Risotto. And the thing with him is that he's been at that team since the 90s.
And like when they were winning.
Yeah, and like he left, and I was like, oh boy. So that sort of, for me, gave me an inkling of like, okay, there's something going on here, like something not right. And then we had the news of David Sanchez. He's leaving the team as well.
So let's talk through, just to stop you there, because there's going to be a lot of people listening to this who don't know who these people are, right?
Sure,
the drivers, but you don't know why did they. The first one you mentioned, who is going to AlphaTauri. Why does he matter? What did he do?
So for Laurent Mekies, like he was a big part of. He was an assistant team principal, so assisted with whatever Frederic Vasseur did, and race director as well. And, to lose your race director is kind of important. I mean, like they help with a lot of different things. They can lobby for penalties. They can help with navigating the infrastructure and how things get built out within the team. And so they are a point person. Like they are a person of interest within the team. And so to lose someone kind of like that, then if you're Frederick Vasseur, then you're like, okay, well, I need to find someone who's going to replace that ASAP, because if he's gone, he kind of takes everything else with him, his knowledge, how he does things, how we run the team, how we go and fight against the FIA for certain things, how we, go and argue for rule changes. And so that plays a key role in that side of the strategy. And then you've got David Sanchez, who essentially is trying to exactly how to explain what he does. He basically guides the team on how the car gets built.
Oh,
and so that's
sort of important.
Yeah, so that's a sort of a big key to lose. Now, obviously, he's on a gardening leave, and he's not going to be at McLaren until next season. But again, right, you're having to kind of jump in and replace that. And that person's not only just dealing with the car. Like, they're dealing with hundreds of people. So you have to get someone in. They have to get their own routine. Then they have to figure out who to go and talk to. And then they have to figure out how to structure everything. And so this isn't just one person comes in and everything's going to be fine. This is one person comes in, has to get comfortable, has to put things on the right trajectory, their trajectory, maybe get their people in. And so, like, it's a huge thing. It's like a 2-year process. It's a big company, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of this all kind of leads to the rumors that were coming out of the Italian press that Charles Leclerc was going to has been in talks with Mercedes. So leaving Ferrari, going to Mercedes.
So whose seat?
Exactly, right? So that's where it was like, well, when I heard that, I was like, you know what? I don't think, George is giving up his seat anytime soon. Right. I also don't see Lewis leaving as well, considering what happened with James Allison now coming back on board as technical director, and we'll get to that later. But I just didn't really buy it when I heard it. But, Leclerc shot those rumors down today in the press. He loves Ferrari. He's a Ferrari guy. He's been working with Frederick Vasseur for a big portion of his career, GP3, and then he worked again with Vasseur at the Alfa Romeo team, and now he's working with him again at Ferrari. And so he has that relationship with Vasseur. And one of the interesting things that Vasseur said today was, we and I'm paraphrasing here, he wants to build this team around, Charles Leclerc, is essentially what I got from his interview today. And that's interesting because if we think about the days of Schumacher, had a team built around him. Senna, when he was at McLaren, Prost left, had a team built around him. I'm trying to remember who else. We have Alonso, Renault, team built around him. Charles Leclerc has a Ferrari team built around him. Do we believe that? If you're Carlos Sainz and you're sitting there listening to this, how are you taking it?
I mean, I think Carlos has got to be realistic about the results that he's had, and it's not because I don't want to take away from him, because I thought he had a good year last year, but there were mistakes that he made that prevented him from really truly challenging for number 2. Max Verstappen, after race 5 was going to, after race 5, Max Verstappen took over. He hasn't stopped, even this year. But Carlos, I think there was a crash was there not a crash at the British Grand Prix? There's certain things that you're like, you're right there, Carlos, but you gotta have that extra little bit. And I feel like it's not that he's not reliable, but there's been times where in key moments he's faltered.
Here's where I stand on it, though. I think if I'm Carlos Sainz, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong, because I think he's a very talented driver.
He is.
He showed up at Ferrari, and his first season he beats Charles Leclerc in a car that is essentially built for Charles Leclerc in 2021, and he goes out and he finishes ahead of him in the Drivers' World Championship standings. Right? Last season had a horrendous start to the season.
Yeah, bad.
It was horrible. But as we got further into the season, gets his first win, and we keep going into the season, he does even better, and those results start to come. And I think you can't. If I'm Frederick Vasseur, I don't know. I just wouldn't build my team around one particular driver, because to me, that signals old Formula One.
Yeah,
and that only really helped a number of different drivers.
Extraordinarily talented.
Extraordinarily talented.
And do we know that Charles is on
generational talents.
And is Charles a generational talent? We don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. We don't.
Yeah.
He's really fast in qualifying.
Like the only true generational talent I think that we know is a generational talent, besides obviously Lewis and Fernando, is Max.
Yep.
Right? That's the only one that's, you got to prove it.
Yep.
For Charles and Carlos, I don't know where the other seats are. Like, I don't know why you would ever want to leave Ferrari, because there isn't the Mercedes or Red Bull to go to, or like the other contending Aston Martin. Like, you're not leaving to go to any of these other seats. So it kind of seems like you're in a position where you just got to play nice and play with these teams. That's why those rumors seem kind of unfounded.
Yeah.
Because the Mercedes seats aren't available, and I don't know where else they would go.
Did you guys see the Fernando quote from a week and a half ago, though?
Which one?
They asked him about, I know. There's been a lot of Taylor Swift stuff. Non-Taylor Swift, but talking about we are never, ever getting back together. Fernando saying that he'd love to finish his career with Lewis Hamilton as his teammate. Now, does Lawrence Stroll's never going to fire his own son?
No, that's not going to
It's
happen.
never going to happen.
No.
However, if there was a seat to open up, like I don't even know if Lewis would want to do that.
Is Lewis doesn't seem like he's leaving Mercedes.
No, he wouldn't.
I don't think so. But like,
So I don't know where the seats are coming from.
But like that's what was so big about last week's news of James Allison and Mike Elliott essentially swapping roles at that team. Even though, we've talked about this on the podcast before, and we did have mentioned that James Allison, was doing some work behind the scenes on the new W14 that we're probably going to see soon.
Ooh, I'm excited.
That being said, it's a big shift to have that guy kind of come back as the technical director for Mercedes, because, and I had mentioned this on a podcast earlier, where it's, you're kind of giving confidence, back to Lewis in the team. I mean, I think at the moment he kind of had lost a bit at the start of the season in this team, and I think that's why we started to hear the grumblings of like, the contract talks have kind of cooled down, and then Toto Wolff coming in and saying like, no, we're not, we're in a good space, and we're gonna have this contract. And
yeah, because last year he kind of kept his mouth shut about the car troubles early on, and then this year he's like, I'm not going to do that again this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to be vocal about it.
He wants that 8th world championship.
Yeah,
and one of the key minds behind those championship winning Mercedes was James Allison. And I think having that guy back in those roles is very important. I think it's huge.
Now, it's interesting that we talk about Ferrari. One of the things, and this is why I've always wanted to ask you this, is okay. So Fred Vasseur walks in. My question is this like a Knives Out situation? Like, because what you always hear about Ferrari is they're almost so tethered to their past. Especially the latest, the Michael Schumacher years, that they can't seem to move on. They do show incredible loyalty to their one guy. Like Sebastian Vettel, I think he raced the most races for Ferrari ever, I'm pretty sure. Never won the world championship, came real close with Ferrari, that is.
Yep.
But, Kimi was there for a bit. Yep. Fernando was there for a bit, but they had their one guy, right? So if Charles is the guy, he's the guy. But Freddie is walking into an organization that is, by some estimations, bloated. Some people have been there too long. Some people are. It's more about advancing themselves and advancing the team. What's your take on that?
You make some good points, because if we look at Ferrari as a business, right? You've got the two separate things. You've got the race team, and then you've also got Ferrari as car manufacturer,
luxury brand. Yeah,
and I think there was a point where that car manufacturer brand was starting to seep into the race team, where management maybe was playing a little bit of a card here, saying do this, do that. It's gone through a few different philosophies. So if you look at when Maurizio Rivabene was there, and I believe, if I get the date correct here, he was there up until about 2019, when Matteo Binotto had to come in and sort of taken over. Now Matteo was sort of this company guy. He had grown up with inside Ferrari. I think he had a lot of the team behind him, because he worked in all these different departments. He understood what everybody's roles were. And then you kind of have that upper branch of Ferrari sort of lose faith in you a bit. And then Mattia, not getting fired, but taking a
gardening
step back,
contracts.
Yeah, And then you had Frederick Vasseur come in. Now, when it's kind of like head coaching in hockey. right? Like you come into a new head coaching position and you clear the bench out, right? You bring your guys in to do the assistant coaching. For Vasseur, it's something similar. You know, him coming in January and taking a look at what's the overall picture, and then knowing whether or not he has carte blanche to move forward with certain moves, letting some people go. What happens here? Do people just end up and leave because they don't like the direction that he wants to take in? And so for him, he kind of has to come in and set the tone of what he wants the direction of this team to be. Now, the flip side to that, it takes a while, you know, because this is a slow-moving machine because there's so many parts to it.
Right.
And there's so many people that have to work together to get a race car put together, have it fast, and out of the racetrack. And so for him, he's kind of like, okay, I need my people in certain positions.
Now, are they making a mistake? Is this an overreaction? Because that car was fast last year.
It was very fast last year, like super fast. I think like on top of it, you had this regulation change that kind of came in around the summer break, and that kind of threw a lot of teams for a loop, McLaren being one of them. And how are they going to control that 15 millimeter sort of ride height between the floor of the car and the ground, stop the porpoising? And so their philosophy and what Ferrari does with their philosophy was, you know, sort of two different things. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they really started to converge with what Red Bull is doing.
Yep.
And I think that's where everybody's going to start going.
And, you know, of course, Tim, you know, we could do a podcast called Helmut Marko Said This Week. You know, because he's bananas with the quotes that he has sometimes. But he told a Swiss newspaper, he's like, Mercedes obviously want to know and find out what is going on, and that will come with updates in Baku. I'm assuming they're coming with an updated package a little bit. Mercedes
will have a bit of an upgrade for this weekend, but what I'm told is the big upgrade is not going to come until Imola.
Okay, which is a good track to have. But they will have That's some a great track to have it on.
Yeah. I think like the rear diffuser is going to be new on the car for this weekend, and there might be something else with the rear wing.
And he said, and from Ferrari, so far we have not been able to get the right assessment. And then he says, and this is what I love, what I don't understand is that what I don't understand is how team boss Freddie Vasseur can see everything so positively. That's what he said.
He said that?
He said that in a Swiss newspaper. Yes.
He literally like just opens that, like pulls the pin on that grenade sometimes and just like, here we go.
Oh yeah.
See what happens.
Well, but he's been doing that for years. They just kind of, it's like he's the guy at the track. It's like, that's just Helmut. You know.
There's Christian Horner. I think it was on Instagram today. Posted a picture of like Helmut Marko like petting a cat, and it's because it's like his birthday. Whatever. So if like head on over to Horner's Instagram channel and flip through and you'll see it. He always seems like that villain, you know, or it's just like you know.
Yeah, everybody's terrible except for my drivers.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I do have to give him credit for the drivers, right? Like he has found some pretty remarkable talent, like Vettel,
Kvyat, Ricardo, yeah,
obviously Verstappen,
yeah.
So he's done well there.
Sainz.
Carlos Sainz. Yeah, exactly. Great point. I don't think this is going to be a huge issue for Frederic Vasseur. I mean, hearing him talk today, it doesn't sound like losing Laurent Mekies is going to be a big deal for him. He's actually encouraging him to go to AlphaTauri, be the team principal, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think he's going to have that much of an issue with it. But yeah.
I don't know if you saw the Mercedes tweet, by the way. When so there,
scroll through it. Have you got it there on your laptop? If you keep scrolling through it, there it is.
Oh, yeah, he's holding a cat. I don't know if you saw this, but when Francois announced his departure from AlphaTauri, the Mercedes admin for their Twitter account just posted the Lewis Hamilton with the mask on, like, who's friends? Like, remember they asked him about it? He's like, who is that? Which is very much him, right? He's very quiet, very in the background, that sort of thing. Anyway, I just Ferrari, to me, it's like they had the car. The issue last year was the race strategy. And I'm wondering now if are we overreacting? You had the car. The car was there. You're
missing out on two other ones.
Oh, but I mean, really, They could have won if the race strategy had just been good.
That and reliability, and
Yeah.
then also driver error. Like
Oh,
Leclerc
yeah.
throwing it away in France while he's leading it's unacceptable. I mean, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
You're driving a Ferrari. Like, you need to win. So that I agree with you, though. I think on some aspect that championship in 2022 could have been like way closer.
Yeah,
Way
because
closer.
it was the race strategy, it was the reliability, it was getting your pit stops right. It was every little thing that could have went wrong. Ferrari did it wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so if they got all of those things together, it would have been a tight race between them and Red Bull.
Do you guys want to talk about Aston Martin?
Yes.
I know
Yes.
you're like dying to talk about
Oh!
the rumors, Alonso.
Well, we didn't talk. I do want to
Swift.
say Charles Leclerc does have a top 10 song in the world right now on iTunes, so we do want to throw that out there. I'm going to make you listen to it on TikTok later. You're going to have
I just found out about this when I came in
He's
today.
a DJ, so he just released it, and his fans are huge. But
What
yeah,
kind of music is it?
it's like dance. You know,
Oh, okay.
he kind of like does
Like
like
Calvin Harris?
sort of that
Like
sort
kinda?
of.
Or like
I would say
Diplo?
that. Yeah, like very Euro.
Okay.
Very much what you would expect, but like I think that's kind of neat. Like as a hobby, like they asked Max Verstappen what he does. He's like, I do driver sim.
So
and he's fantastic
And he's good at it.
He's the best driving sim racer right now.
He's amazing.
Like,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Oh, he's incredible.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry. On to Aston Martin.
So, do we want to start with you do you want to? I'll let you start with your Taylor Swift.
Well, I
Alonso.
just
going
think
on there?
what they've with the Aston. First off, the social media team for Aston Martin is unbelievable because the TikToks have been incredible. Him, sitting there and looking up at the camera and winking or whatever. But I guess they asked him about it this morning on the
did.
Formula One account, and he's like, "Yeah, no, no comment. I'm talking about Baku or whatever." It's the Spanish newspapers that are fueling this, but I think it's more kind of funny.
Okay. On the weekend, so my girlfriend says to me, she's like, is Alonso dating Taylor Swift? And I looked at her and I'm like, no. I'm like, I think he's just getting out of a relationship with one of his long-term girlfriends because like, I don't think, no. And then she's like, well, she just broke up with apparently
Joe Alwyn. Yeah.
Is that what it is? Okay. See, I don't follow any of this stuff.
Well, see,
right?
this is where you need us.
And so I was like, well, okay, hold on a second here. She's like, check her tour dates. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, go online. I'm like, this is such a waste of time. I'm like, checking her tour dates. And I'm like, I guess she's on a North American
Yes.
tour?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the news? Like, they were spotted in Spain? Like, the two of them?
There was some sort of rumor about that the only thing that was said was that
I had no idea about
they
any of
are
this
they
stuff,
are
like-
seeing each other, but that it's very quiet right now. That it's very like because they just both got out of relationships,
Right.
And that it's very like, but they've never been. No one said where they were spotted. Not that I saw anyway.
So this is like tabloid, like, journalism.
Yes, and this is full blown. You got to remember too, like tabloid journalism in Europe is far different than it is in North America, right? Like you go to
Yeah,
a British,
sure,
the
actually.
British papers, the Italian papers,
Yeah, good point.
That the Spanish paper, they are absolutely wild with this sort of stuff.
But this isn't the first time that like Alonso's like done something like this.
Really?
Right? Yeah, we think about most recently, 33. Okay, so his quest for a 33rd victory. Like in Spain, that's a huge story. Like it's huge. Like the tennis star Carlos Alcaraz during the Miami Open, he wins a match to get into, I believe it was a quarterfinal. He goes up to, they autograph the camera lens. He goes up there and he writes 33 ? Soon ?
Wow.
So it's like that was a huge thing that got started from like Alonso's people, the Spanish media, and then it just turned into this whole thing. And then there was another one called El Plan.
yes, which was on the
remember
back of the
Alpine?
Alpine car, right?
Yeah. Remember El Plan?
Yes, I do.
El Plan started in 2021, mid-season. And that, again, is like a quest for greatness, a quest for trying to get Alpine not onto the podium, but in victory lane, like getting a win. And so that kind of leads back to 33. And so, like, he's always done stuff like this, a samurai sword thing when he was with Ferrari. He had a huge thing with that did really well. Like, he's always had that spark that started a fire, so to speak, right? Like, he's great with it.
What do you got, Jesse?
I'm not saying that Taylor couldn't get to Spain very quickly, but the rumors that they were in Spain together
it doesn't align, right?
They're unsubstantiated, is what everybody's calling the rumors, because there's no video evidence of it, and it doesn't make sense because she's on her North American tour right now.
Yeah, it'd be if she was on the East Coast, it'd be a 5-hour trip minimum.
Right. Why would she do that in the middle of the tour?
She could do that.
She could, but it's not very probable. I think this might have just been a rumor that's just taken off.
I love it.
Like I said, I don't follow.
Are they going to be as good in Baku? Like, is this going to continue?
I think so. I have a good feeling. Like, they brought this new rear wing that's the only upgrade that I've been told that they have for this weekend is a new rear wing, and it's low downforce, and so that's going to help them on the straightaways, obviously going in a straight line, lots of that in Baku. But it'll be I'm going to be fascinated to see if he can keep this podium streak alive. So 3 podiums in the first 3 races. Imagine they got a 4th. I mean, the team's already like 2nd in the championship. Like, that's just going to solidify that this is a team to be reckoned with for the foreseeable future. They didn't even think they were going to be this good coming into the season. Alonso didn't even think they were going to be this good coming into this season. Like, this season was supposed to be next season.
Right.
And like that advancement in performance for him, he's got to now starting to be thinking like championship.
Well, I would hope so.
Next season or the season after.
Yeah.
It's a multi-year deal he's on.
You got to think that at some point Red Bull's going to have a bad day.
Yeah.
Because it happens.
So do you think he gets his 33rd win? Do you guys, what do we think? This season, do you think he gets?
I think there's always a chance in racing that Max hits a pebble and goes into a wall, you know? It
sneezes. Whatever.
The back slides out and he hits a wall. And there's always a chance, and Aston Martin has put themselves in a position to take advantage of an engine going out, you know, and Red Bull not being in one, and maybe something happens with Mercedes, and George doesn't capitalize on that, and Aston Martin will be right there. So I think it's very likely that he can get that win this year.
Yeah,
I like that. Here's my question: Is Lance Stroll? I know Fernando's a good driver. We know Lance is a very good driver. The thing about Lance is people kind of take it away from him because his dad owns the team, and his dad is invested in every team that he's raced for, right? So
such a load of crap.
Well, okay, so tell us about that.
I mean, the guy is like, you don't go and win karting. You don't go and win Formula 4 championship. You don't go and win the FIA F3 championship and not be good. The FIA F3 championship, the year he won it. Have you guys ever seen how stacked that field is? Do yourself a favor. Which camera am I looking at?
One. I think one.
No, camera 2.
Camera two. Do yourself a favor. Okay? Go on.
Go to camera 4.
Go to camera 4.
Go to camera 4. There you go.
Over here.
Camera 4 is your camera. There it is. There it is.
We need to change the numbers.
Listen.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor. 2016 FIA F3 championship. Look at the roster.
Let's look it up. Let's look it up right now. Who's on? It's 2016.
Yeah.
F4.
FIA Formula 3.
Formula 3.
Just drink this in.
Give me the lineup.
Okay, we got. This is the teams and drivers. Where's the standings?
Yeah,
That's
keep
the
going.
calendar. Results. Okay. Drivers' Championship. Here we go.
Okay, Lance Stroll into Formula 1. Maximilian Gunther getting paid as a professional driver. George Russell in Formula 1. Nick Cassidy also getting paid as a professional driver. Same goes with Joel Eriksson. Callum Ilott,
The best driver outside of Formula 1 in
who's
the
an
world.
incredible talent, also in there as well. Antoine Hubert,
Oh, wow.
tragically passed away, but
Yeah.
again, true talent. Who else we got in there? Sergio Sette Camara, again, Formula 2, getting paid to be a professional driver.
13th.
Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu.
Formula 1 driver.
Number 20 on the grid.
Shall we continue? Like, who else we got in here? Pedro Piquet. Good. Nikita Mazepin. All right.
That's who was shouted out at number 20.
Pedro Piquet's, Nelson Piquet's related, right?
Yep, they're all related, yeah.
That's
That's a stacked grid of talent. Like, that's a stacked grid. The top 13, like, that's ridiculous.
And he won.
And he won the championship.
So this is the thing. Do we see Lance Stroll get that victory this year?
I think there's a chance. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this on the podcast before, but like losing out on testing in Bahrain is really hurt him to start the season because you don't get that.
Still finishing
right?
6th and 5th,
Yeah.
and he's doing amazing.
He has that. There's just this gap. I want to say it's about 3 to 4 tenths that he's got to close up to Fernando. And that's only going to come with time because you get that confidence, right? To find that extra little bit of pace and to really understand what the car needs just to get those few tenths out of it. So he just needs to close that gap up a bit to Fernando, and he'll be there. I mean, like, look at what he did with Seb as his team. A 4-time Formula 1 world champion. Kept up with the guy. Out-qualified him.
In a bad car.
Yeah, like... I'm
I like how angry you get. That's good. Don't fire it up. Yeah. Well, but that's the thing, right? And he's probably gonna have to fight against that his whole career.
Yeah.
Is just that. But if he starts winning races, people shut up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could do it. Like I said, I think he just closed that gap. You know, you get some bad luck for the Red Bulls up front.
Yep.
And as long as you're in a position, I think you could do it for sure. I mean, man, qualifying Turkey 2020 in the wet on just a junk track surface. It's like drivers were like driving on ice, pole position.
Canadian. Driving on ice.
You want to talk about McLaren?
I mean, I'm wearing the shirt, and I know the shirt's outdated because it says golf. That's now a Williams sponsor. But yes and no.
Big upgrade this weekend, buddy.
Yeah, I don't. So this is the thing that freaks me out about the team that I love so much is that they're like, we expect to be competitive again in like 26. And I just, you know, they are one of the major teams in the sport, but like, and everybody's like, well, what's Lando Norris gonna do if they're not competitive? I don't know where he would go. He's not going anywhere. They've tailored the car to him. Does this make a difference?
Like the upgrade this weekend?
Yeah, is this gonna make?
Well, you got to remember, like, everyone else is bringing upgrades. Does it? Like, you have to take a look at it in the space of how much performance are we clawing back that everybody else is clawing back as well, because they're going to be making the same sort of push forward that you are as a team. And now they just need to understand how big of a push forward that they make this weekend. So the floor of the car is going to be brand new. They have a few other parts on it that are going to be brand new. I was told that they were going to be bringing new side pods to this car for this weekend, but I saw some images earlier on Thursday. Didn't look like it. Looked like the same side pods, but the floor does look brand new, which is important. The front tunnel of the car, again, is brand new for this weekend, so we'll see how that works for them. The main point is, and we've said it on this podcast and reported on it on this podcast, is that there's a 3-part upgrade that goes along with this car that turns it basically into a B-spec car. And that's a big upgrade to do for a team in the middle of a season. So you're going to have an upgrade, Azerbaijan. You have another upgrade that's coming for this team before the summer break, and another big upgrade that's going to come after summer break. And that'll be it for this car.
I have a question because Adam, you're a big fan, so and Tim, you know everything. So they're sitting right now 5th in the constructors. Is that,
and they're lucky.
They're
lucky to be 5th.
Not where they should be, because ahead of them are Red Bull, Aston Martin, Mercedes, Ferrari, and then you got McLaren.
Yeah, and they're ahead of Alpine because Alpine knocked themselves out.
Everyone they kind of want to be ahead of outside of Aston Martin, right? They want to be 4, and then they're sitting in 5. So have they not kind of lucked out here with the first couple of races when they have such a bad car, but they're still in 5th?
Okay, personal opinion, I feel they lucked out in Australia.
Yes.
Okay.
With Pierre Gasly and Ocon hitting each other.
That too, and then all of the attrition that we saw, like all the crashes and everybody dropping out. I think they had some luck there. To be perfectly honest, and I think that's why they're in the position that they're in. But this is a big team, okay, and they do have a lot of resources. They don't have their full functioning wind tunnel yet, but again, that's not something that's going to truly help them until later next season, right? They're still taking their car to, I believe it's like, they're using the Toyota wind tunnel facility in Germany. So they're still having to like transfer the parts and everything to that wind tunnel, and that takes time. They don't have anything on site just yet. But when they do, that's a game changer. You know, that will be a huge step forward for the team. But they have a lot of good talent behind the scenes. Like,
and they're getting, they seem to be fully willing to buy the talent that they don't believe that they have.
That's what you got to do.
Well,
So are you disappointed at, because
I mean, I think if you, I mean, listen, a fifth place, three races in, the way they started, you know, which was like 18th and 19th in the first race.
This is kind of like positive.
Yeah, you know what? Sure. Sure, but
is that the wrong way to look at it?
It's like positive when you're standing on sand and the water's washing it away under your feet, right? Like, you know, the inevitable is coming and you're going to sink. And this is the frustrating part, because this is a third place team 2 seasons ago. Yeah. What happened? Why didn't they build on that? I know there's a regulation change in there. Lando Norris almost won a race in Russia. People forget that, right? He didn't switch to the right tires, and it rained, and he lost. Ricciardo and Norris should have won that year, that Ricciardo's first year there. And I think there is so much about this team, and people give Zach Brown a lot of shit, right? They give him a lot of, because it's like, Zach, you know, you got to take this team back to where it should be, which is in the top 3. The thing about him is that he at least identifies talent, and he's willing to go out and spend the money to get it.
Yeah.
I just feel like, as a longer suffering McLaren fans out there, it's like it can't happen soon enough, right? And this year, it's like, are you kidding me? Another year that's just literally a write-off.
It's I think it's a fascinating look at how a Formula One team sort of works over decades. Because if you go back to the Ron Dennis era, so before, you know, Zach kind of came onto the scene, and
the Lewis, Jensen Button. Yeah,
exactly. But how they actually like structured the team and the personnel, and how they all work together was sort of like this matrix. I think it was kind of like a matrix. I can't remember the exact words that they used, but there was no accountability essentially for jobs that didn't get done properly. And Adrian Newey, actually, who now is over at Red Bull, he spoke about this at length in his book. How to build a race car.
I got to read that book.
It's one of the best books I've ever read.
Wow.
It is. If you're a Formula One fan or a racing fan, you got to go get it. It's absolutely incredible, and then you'll understand why the Red Bull is so good.
Okay, all right.
Once you read it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay, now I understand why Red Bull is like so good. This guy's a genius. But he spoke about this at length in his book, and just how much of a mistake it was with what Ron was doing with the team then, in terms of delegating and not taking accountability, and the different types of structures that they had aligned within their technical department, and then Zach coming in and sort of breaking that all up.
So,
for the better, I think.
So, in your opinion, is Zach Brown a positive influence now on McLaren? There's no question that in the past he was. Remember when he started, it was just an orange and blue car with no sponsors on it, right? Like, they were failing.
No, I think Zach's done an incredible job with this team. I think losing Andreas Seidel, that's gonna hurt. Like, losing that guy's a talent, right? He's a true talent. Knows how to run a team. Knows how to put together a team. Mm-hmm. Losing him, that's going to be hard to replace.
Okay.
And for those who don't know, he's gone to Alfa Romeo Sauber to help with the transition from into Audi. So
okay. So yeah. Anyway, that's how I feel about McLaren right now. It's like, I'm enjoying 5th place while it lasts. I think they're going to be fighting with Haas and Williams, and I you know what, I think that's a disservice to Haas. I think Haas is going to be far ahead of them.
I don't agree. I agree, actually. Sorry. Like, I had said on a podcast that they were going to finish last in the championship. That was pretty
McLaren?
Much, yeah, but they're not going to finish
the way. Hey, listen, the way Albon and Sargent have raced really well.
But to my point, I said it after Bahrain.
Right.
Things were bad.
That was bad. Bleak.
but it's gotten better for sure. Do
Okay.
you guys want to do some Twitter questions?
Yes.
let's do
We
it.
have one from the at SDPN sports account.
Oh, okay.
That's
Admin.
Justin Fisher.
What the heck is going on at Ferrari? Also, are there any snacks in the office, Adam, Jesse?
Well, there are.
Office?
There are.
Jesse, what snacks do we have in the office?
We have managed to fill every crevice of this office with delicious cookies or sour keys or mini eggs. They are scattered throughout the building. You can find little jars of delicious treats.
It was great. I went for a tour.
Oh, yeah.
They've got a great facility here, by the way, and
Better than McLaren's.
I like.
Our wind tunnel's up and operational, Zach. So
It's in the basement.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. And it's not Toyota's. It's ours.
I liked like every single room I went into. There's like a jar filled with like candy, Oreos, like sour keys, and I'm like trying to I'm on a fitness thing right now, and I'm trying to lose weight, train for
Not here.
triathlon. And like I'm just like, oh my god, those are Oreos.
Steve
dying.
has made a point to say he hates the birthday cake Oreos.
No, I hate
Oh,
them.
that's you.
And that's been good for me because I love Oreos.
Oh, same here. Man.
And I want an original Oreo or a double stuffed Oreo. I don't like the chocolate Oreos, and I don't like the birthday cake Oreos, so I won't touch them.
Okay.
So it's good for me.
Jesse, I think this one's for you. It's from I think it's Jana168771 on Twitter.
Definitely real name.
Yes. How's Jesse feeling about the Charles Leclerc and Mercedes rumors?
I don't think Lewis Hamilton is going to race for any other team for the rest of his career.
I agree.
I think I'm pretty confident in saying that. I think everything he's accomplished with Mercedes in that he's gonna keep going with this, and he's gonna force them to try and build a car to win that next world championship. And I don't see him leaving anywhere, so I don't see a seat coming up, because George is a great teammate because he's super competitive, and he's not the same teammate in the way that Bottas was, where he's clearly number two. Like, George likes to compete, and I think Mercedes loves that, and Lewis isn't going anywhere, so I think those two seats are covered.
I think George is a generational talent, and I cannot wait till that car gets competitive and we see those two go head to
They
head.
seem to like each other right now.
Yes.
Does that
time being.
when that car is competitive? Do they? Because both of them are sharp. They're not smooth edges. These guys are sharp edge guys.
Yeah, and like Lewis has had trouble with teammates before in the
Yep.
past.
Yeah.
Especially like really competitive ones. I mean, obviously you had the
Alonso,
the head-to-head
Rosberg.
with- Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Alonso and Rosberg,
Yeah.
right? So not the greatest of relationships.
I think he's at a more mature stage of his career, and he probably recognizes the talent that George is as well.
Yeah.
And it's probably better for Mercedes to have them work a little together.
Yeah, I think George is awesome. Obviously, Lewis is awesome too. That's why I'm so excited to see both of those
Yeah.
guys push each other to the brink.
Yeah.
Question for Adam. Are you hopeful for McLaren this weekend, considering they did better than expected in Australia?
Again, the 40 people,
Don't
40 cars
backpedal,
had to
let's have the
crash
answer.
for them to get double points. Like that is not going to happen every weekend. Yeah, here's McLaren's best hope, that everybody's feeling a little rusty, and they put cars into the wall. That's McLaren. That is literally McLaren's best hope right now. Am I wrong?
No,
I hope they're not hoping for
I
that.
want more. No, they don't want. No, they're hoping for a safe shunt.
Yes.
Okay, safe shunts everywhere. But I honestly, like, I want. I don't know what kind of driver Piastri is. I don't know what he is at this level. You can't tell in this car.
you can't.
We know Lando is a guy that can win a race in a competitive car because he almost did. I think that as soon as this car gets competitive again, then we'll know. But I just feel like, like I said, it's just one of those years where you're just gonna have to smile and go, I'm hoping for sixth.
So I believe that was 2020 Russia in the wet.
Yes.
And the team...
Heartbroken.
Okay, did you watch that live?
Yes.
And
he.
what was your reaction?
Well, he was the one that said, "Leave me out."
Yeah.
Ooh. I wanted to die. I just want to die. Would he fall to like 8th or something? Like, you just...
Spun off the track.
Oh, I just want to hug him. Just want to hug the poor guy. Oh. Anyway.
Guys, thanks very much for doing this.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having us.
I had a lot of fun coming in here. This is a great studio. It's a great setup you guys have here.
Well, you're
Super
welcome in
excited
here
for you
anytime,
guys.
man.
This is great.
No, we always feel honored to come on the show and talk with you.
Oh man, I love
a good
having
time.
you guys on.
Are you going to be joining the vaunted Jesse Blake Sports Report anytime soon, or
I don't know.
we haven't seen an episode in a while? Like, you know.
Jesse? I'm looking at your direction.
You're always welcome, Tim. You are always welcome.
I will come on whenever you need me.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Maybe live from Miami or something.
Oh,
fun like that, you
I
know?
like that.
I do that.
And
a good
I'd
idea.
love to have you with like some palm trees in the background.
I like that. But do I use like my laptop? So like I hold my laptop up, like, hey,
Check out these.
Jesse, palm trees, like, and then everyone's looking out their hotel windows. Like, what is that guy?
You can't
doing
set up like
there?
poolside or something. That'd be cool.
Tim, could you not do? Could you not be in one of the fake yachts? Like that'd be
Oh,
cool.
yeah?
Can you do
Well,
it?
apparently there's supposed to be from what I've heard. There's supposed to be some water there now.
The marina's gonna be a real one
Yeah.
now.
Like,
Oh.
apparently, like, I don't know if it's true. I'm gonna miss the fake stuff because
It's hilarious.
the memes that came out of that were
Yeah.
incredible.
It's great. Okay.
Absolutely incredible. Guys, thanks very much again. This has been
Thank you,
great.
Tim.
You've been listening to Nailing the Apex. Head on over to Spotify, give us a 5-star rating and a follow. Same goes with Apple Podcasts as well. I'm Tim Haraney. You can get me on social media at Tim Haraney, and we'll talk to y'all later.